grew up in a Catholic country. Before Chicago, I was in Israel, but before that, I was posted in France at the Embassy of Israel. And we had a wonderful relationship with the Catholic community and also with the Muslim community. And here, I really wanted to be in touch with Muslims to see what we can do, we can cooperate. And that came October 7, basically 2 months after I came here. And I understood that we have zero relationship with the Muslim community. And I don't want to believe that all the Muslims are radical. I know it's not true. I'm sure that there are good people, decent people who are perhaps want to say, not in my name, but they're afraid to say that. And they're afraid to be vocal or stand for different values or speak out for the Jewish community. I'm sure there are people like that, but we don't see them, we don't hear them, we don't have any relationship with them. So, of course, I would love to go and meet with the mayor of Dearborn. If he was inviting me, I would go, for sure.
There's a difference between talking about Jewish identity and actually living it across borders. Today on Jew and Stewed, we are joined by Delphine Gamburg, PhD, the Deputy Consul General of Israel to the Midwest, where we talk about how she grew up Jewish in France, made Aliyah to Israel, and built a diplomatic career that has taken her from Jerusalem to Paris to the American Midwest. In this conversation, we talk about what Jewish life looks like when it's tested, the pressures facing Jewish communities today, the responsibility of visibility, and the role that diplomats are now playing not just in theory, but in presence, and where that presence matters most. This is a conversation about identity, clarity, and showing up without apology. I'm Daniel Schwartz. This is Jew and Stew.
Hi, Delphine.
Hello.
We're so glad to have you on Jew and Stew today. I'm personally thrilled to get to interview you. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me today.
I want to actually talk about how I met you. So I think it was, we had Chicago Jewish Alliance had the 2 big rallies at DePaul encampment in support of Jewish students on DePaul campus. And then one of our first big events, and this was brought on by somebody who was born in Chicago and then made Aliyah to Israel and was here and couldn't go home because the war had broken out. But she really wanted to have an interfaith screening of Screams Before Silence. And I and other teammates on CJA went to work organizing this screening. And, it's a very difficult movie, and it was a very difficult subject to show before people. And I know the movie had come out and a lot of people were having a hard time watching it, but it was things that were needed to be seen. And we reached out to the Israeli consulate and asked if they would like to have somebody from the consulate there to come, speak at the movie and be present and have their presence. And you came and you spoke, and it was my first time meeting you.
Remember that?
Yeah. And it
was a very moving evening. Very moving evening. Yeah, I remember that.
And we've had a wonderful working relationship since. So it was such a privilege meeting you that day and having you there. So thank you for coming and doing that. I
was actually there that night. It was very, very moving. And it was actually the women on our team, I remember, who were organizing that and going to that. And I don't even think I sat through the movie. I think I was a bigger wuss than most of those ladies in that room. But Delphine, thank you so much for coming on. So I just wanted to start off by, so you're French, and I feel like a Jew growing up in France was...
I'm both French and Israeli.
You're both French and Israeli. You made Aliyah, right? Later on in life, but you were born in France. Where were you born? Were you born in Paris or in a Jewish environment at all growing up?
Yeah, I was born in Paris. And not in a Jewish environment. I lived in the suburbs, of Paris, in a very quiet, small town. My parents are Jewish, so it was important for them that I'm getting Jewish values. So I learned at a Sunday school for 3 years. I didn't like it, but I think it was a good decision. My family was not observant. It was a very secular Jewish family. But still, they had first the Jewish values and also the love for Israel.
What was being Jewish like at the time in Paris? Like, did people know you were Jewish, and how did people treat you when they did know you were Jewish?
Yeah, well, at that time it was a bit better than today. As you know, there is a very rising antisemitism in France and in Europe and everywhere, unfortunately, but especially in Europe and especially in France, which is very uneasy for the Jewish community. But by then it was a bit more. It was a different time, and people didn't know that I'm Jewish. I didn't tell that. I had the, if I can say, chance not to have a very typical Jewish name. My name before wedding was Freva, which is my father is coming from Italy. I mean his family, and it's not a typical. It's not a Cohen or Levi or the very typical Jewish French names. So I just never disclosed that, and it was okay for me. I mean, I understood that it's better that way. And also, my mom was always very, very concerned. She really didn't want people know that we are Jewish. She was very secret about that, and for Yom Kippur I had to go to school. Otherwise, people will understand that I'm Jewish because there is no good reason to go to school on the day of Yom Kippur. So sometimes you are just writing a note for the teachers that I don't feel well, but at some point she didn't want to do that again because she said it's doesn't look good that every Kippur I don't feel well, I mean, especially on that day. So, so I was going to school, and she was very, very anxious about that, especially because it was not a Jewish environment, and she didn't want me to be singled out, or which I can understand. I know that.
So you concealed that you're Jewish? Did you purposely conceal your Jewish identity? Like, were you hiding it?
No, not at all. I mean, I did it in a very, very natural way. I mean, I was going to Sunday school, to Jewish school on Sundays, and I was very, aware and never proud of my Jewish identity. But I knew that this is something that it's better to keep secret because it may be dangerous just to disclose it, which was okay for me. I mean, I didn't think that no, that's not good. I need to. It's very important to be openly proud to be Jewish. So I was not in that approach at all. And also my mom was very concerned, so she didn't want me to be vocal about it. I know that it's sometimes a bit difficult to understand from here because the Jewish community here had a different experience. Even though today it's unfortunately also a bit different from what we used to have here, but in Europe it's common, and among the Jewish community in France it's also very common. We never had a mezuzah outside the house. It was inside the house, inside the apartment, and it was normal to me, so it was okay.
That breaks my heart.
Yeah, always.
That the mezuzah is inside the door. People can't even have a mezuzah on the door. Like, I don't think we here in the United States knew that that's what it's like. Like, we talk about how we lived in this little bubble thinking we didn't have so much anti-Semitism, that, the Holocaust was over, everybody knew better. And here you are living in France, putting your mezuzah in the doorframe because you can't have it outside. Like, that's mind-blowing to me still.
I can have it outside, but it's it may be dangerous, and we don't want to. I don't know. Perhaps it's a different type of Jews. In Europe it's different. After the Holocaust, but there are some people who do that. There are some people who live in a very, very heavily Jewish neighborhoods, and they feel perhaps more comfortable to do that. I don't know any people like that, but they may feel more comfortable to do that. But I remember the first time that we were posted in the US. It was 20 years ago. Yeah, a long time ago. And I put the mezuzah inside the apartment. And first time that we got someone, a local Jewish person, come to visit, she said, "Why the mezuzah is inside?" She never saw that in her life. I said, "Because I don't know. I mean, we don't know the neighbors, and it's been always inside all my life." And she said, but look around. I mean, there are many Jews in the building. They all have a mezuzah outside the apartment. So I couldn't do that. I don't know why. I couldn't decide that I'm putting the mezuzah outside the door. Habits. But I understood that it's a different story here.
Well, it may not have been as important to you. That's what I'm trying to understand. Like growing up for me, my Jewish identity was, the high holidays were fun with the family and stuff like that. But even in American Jewry, like during the height of Jewry and the zeitgeist with Seinfeld, The Nanny, like it still felt like I wanted to assimilate more than I wanted to be Jewish. I would rather be a cool American than like that. I had to rediscover my Jewish identity as I got older. Was that kind of your experience in France? Like, were you struggling with that, like the assimilation aspects of it too?
But I know that it may sound a bit contradictory, but the fact that we had to, we didn't have to, but to hide the Jewish identity because it may be dangerous just to be too much vocal about it. I think that it deepened the Jewish identity, which is the contrary. It didn't go in a sense of assimilation, but the contrary. This is something that it's important, that it's very deep inside, and you need to keep it secret because people may hurt you, discriminate you because you're Jewish. So you develop, your Jewish identity, perhaps not in a cool way, but when you have to hide it, you feel more Jewish, if I can say. This is the limit of my English, but you understand what I want to mean. It was a strong identity because of that. If it's not an issue and doesn't matter, and you okay, perhaps I don't know. Some people tend to forget that they're Jewish. It's like in Israel, everybody's Jewish. Not everybody, but most of the people of the Israelis are Jewish. So it's not an issue. You don't consider you as a Jew. You don't look at people as Jews. You look at them as neighbors, friends, colleagues, whatever. But in France, you every time you are in a different group, you are looking for the Jews. Every time that you see a movie, you look at the Jewish names, and it's more of an issue than just living your Judaism as something natural and cool and not conflictual.
So you went to university first in France, right? And you studied mathematics and philosophy, and then soon after you made Aliyah, and you.
No. If I can correct you, I would love to. Philosophy was my first choice. Yeah, but my parents said, "Oh, come on, philosophy, are you crazy?" So I went to law school. It was very bad. I've always tried to find the philosophy behind the laws, but it was not a good approach. So my first year was very challenging because of that. But I went to law school.
Oh, okay. Yes, I had the law school next, but I wasn't sure the sequence of events here. But you finished school, and then soon after you made Aliyah, and you made Aliyah by yourself. Is that correct? You went by yourself. What prompted this?
First, I think that my parents were. I lived with my mom by then. My parents divorced when I was younger, and there was always the Jewish radio in the background at home, always, really from morning to late evening. So we really lived in a very, I wouldn't say religious, but Zionist environment. And my mom never been to Israel. She was very, very optimistic about the peace treaty by then, the Oslo Accords, and it was a good time for Israel with lots of perspectives, and parents were talking about the new Middle East, and so it was a very optimistic time for Israel and the Jews. And then I visited Israel for the first time. I don't know if you know this program is Sarel. It's volunteering in the military bases. There's a lot of American guys also doing that, but there are also a lot of French young people, and it was super, super fun. And also because it was my first time, it was also an opportunity to visit my family. I had quite a lot of family by then in Israel, cousins, uncles, and I was very amazed by the way they live, by the enthusiasm, by the energies, and the everybody looked so happy and so enthusiastic and so positive, and I really liked it. And I saw that that why not? Why not to try? So 2 days I just finished.
Your family that was in Israel, they came from France too?
Yes, everybody. Yeah.
When did they come over, and what prompted them coming over to Israel?
I guess Zionism, and also some of them were a bit more religious, so it was easier. It's always easier for an observant Jew to live in Israel. It makes it easier, but it was mainly Zionism. But they were here for quite a long time, between 5 and 10 years ago, all of them. And really they're wonderful families. I really love the energies and the way that they raise the kids, a very, in a very communitary way. Everybody, is, I don't know, I really liked it. I was super enthusiastic when I came back to France, and I told my mom, I want to make Aliyah. So she said, okay, what's going on here? And she said that because I just came back, and, it's always, she believed that after a few days or weeks, I will come down and forget about that. But unfortunately for her, I didn't forget about that. So I started the process with the Jewish agency, and 2 years after, because I wanted to finish my degree, I moved to Israel. Yeah, it's the whole story.
You're like my sister. My sister made Aliyah to Boca, Florida, where the Jews in America are going. And then my entire family
of Israel. Yeah.
Followed her. Well, it's becoming, with the elections in New York, it might even get more populated with some Jews. So you're in Israel, but like I still feel like people do things because they're so passionate about them, whether or not that's fate or like we consciously do that. And so what I'm trying to understand is this girl who like lives in France and is growing up, and like, like you're saying, like Zionism is kind of cool, and they seem like, they're good looking Jews, like, and they're having fun and they're smiling and there's life here. Yeah, but how do you change your entire life and fall in love with the country and then work for her? Like, where is that catalyst? I'm trying to see that spark. Is there a spark, or is it just like love over time?
Yeah, well, it's, when you are 18 years old or 20 years old, you're a bit irresponsible. I wouldn't say irresponsible, but you don't really, have those considerations that you have later on in your life when you have a family, a job, and you are older, and you have those, I don't know, financial consideration or whatever. I just wanted to, live there. So I didn't really think about that. And I think that it was a good decision. And after that, it was also very important for me to work for Israel, to pay forward for what I got from the country. I had wonderful, first years, and everybody was so welcoming, and also I got so much rights as a new immigrant, and everything was so smooth, and university, and it's also the flexibility of the Israeli society. It's all very flexible, and then I started to work for the Ministry of Immigrant Absorption. I met my husband there. He was coming from Ukraine. So we are kind of a kibbutz galuyot. It's a very international family. And then I joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs a few years after as a jurist at the beginning, and then and my husband joined 1 year before me. He's also a career diplomat. And we started to, move around the globe, mainly in the US and France. We were posted is the third position in the US, and we were posted also twice in France. The first time was my husband's position, and the second time was mine, and my husband also joined me in a different position. And the kids, they grew up abroad mainly. And I think this is the real concern. What will be their their identity, and do they feel as Israelis, or the older one feels very French, the second one feels very American, the little one feels very Israeli. Watching Israeli series and podcasts, and he started with the very super Israeli program a few weeks ago. Zeuze. I don't know if you've heard about that. And it's really amazing to see that he's very, very so Israeli and almost never lived in Israel. So yeah.
I was gonna ask you how the kids are dealing with it, but you think healthfully? You think is a diplomat traveling with children? They probably get an experience that most children just will never get, getting to go experience all these different communities and cultures, and it's got to be good for their development. So
yeah, I just it's not confusing for them.
So tell us about your current. Tell us about the consulate in Illinois, and just kind of the overall work. There's a lot of people. I didn't get hip to the consulate until I got involved with my nonprofit, Chicago Jewish Alliance, or after October 7th, and I grew up in Deerfield. And so that's just wild to me that I never was able to tap into some of these resources that you guys have here.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, tell us about it. Tell us the work that you guys do and what you oversee here. I think it's more than Illinois. You guys do a lot in the Midwest. I know.
Right, yeah. We are actually covering 9 states, which is quite a lot. From let me see if I know my so it's the Dakotas, Nebraska, Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, Michigan, and Iowa. I think that's it. Yeah, I don't know if we have the right number. Yeah.
What's the work like in some of these? I'm Michigan, for example, Dearborn, Michigan. That's part of. Are there Jews in Michigan who you guys speak to that are seeing these demographics shifting right below their, these tectonic plates of shifts? Do they reach out to you?
Yes.
I saw this video from Dearborn recently, and it was they were renaming some of the streets after a journalist who had passed away, but he had glorified Hamas. And this man, I think he was a Christian pastor, came before city council and opposed the renaming of these streets. And I watched the mayor scream at him that he's a racist Islamophobe for not wanting a street named after somebody glorifying murder. It's the things we're seeing out of Dearborn are quite frightening.
It's terrible, and I mean, especially perhaps because of my French background and what's going on in France today with terrorism and also the population shifting. So it really interests me to see how it goes here, and I'm really following what's happening in Michigan, and especially in Detroit and Dearborn and Amtrak and all these areas, and what we see is the same. It's the same strategy. There are people who come with an agenda, and they're using the liberal ideology and the progressive ideology to get to power. And once they're in power, they are throwing away all those people who help them to get into power. And it's exactly what we see also in Europe and especially in France. And the mayor of Dearborn, he has a full Muslim city hall. So he doesn't need to make any kind of concessions. I mean, to anybody, he can do basically whatever he wants. And he was elected with the votes of the liberal Jews, other minorities, LGBT community. Concerning, it's really concerning. It's scary, and not because he's a Muslim mayor, not at all. It's not what I'm saying, not at all. But because he disrespects the people who helped him to get into power, and it's.
I don't think it should be taboo to talk about idea. You can separate ideas from the identity of a person, right?
Of course,
so like
absolutely.
It's what someone believes is what you're. Yeah. So I don't. I mean, like some people pretend not to get that nuance. Like here's the story I saw out of Dearborn.
No, it's really important. You're right.
You say LGBT supported some of these policies and politicians. The last story,
minorities, Jews,
and liberal Jews. Okay, like these liberal Jews who claim to be for liberalism, but the last story I saw out of Dearborn, or I think it was Dearborn. It was one of these shift in to kind of like populations, and they banned the LGBTQ flag.
Right? Absolutely, it's important.
So it's like this weird thing where the left supports, this Islamic fundamentalism, but then it's counterintuitive to what their own political agenda is. So is the only common denominator here we hate?
Absolutely. That's why I don't understand. I totally agree with you, and it's the same in New York. With Mamdani, I've read yesterday that 38% of the Jews will vote for him. I mean, again, it's not because he's a Muslim, not at all, but the guy is a radical supporting terror. So I don't really get it, especially in New York. After September 11, and it seems that people forgot about that. I mean, some of the people, perhaps the younger generation, is not always aware of backgrounds, and but I think it's suicidal to vote especially for the Jews, to vote for someone like that. But not only for the Jews, I don't really get it, but it's the same in Dearborn and other cities. It's painful. It's painful to see that.
I was just in New York last week. I actually went for a Global Peace for Israel think tank meeting of grassroots organizations. But I have friends in New York, and they're non-Jewish, like friends from college and things. And I spent time with them, and we talked about this. And they're all voting for him. And they're voting for him because they don't see another viable candidate. Like, they don't think the other options are people they can vote for. So he's like the lesser of all the evils for them, which like blows my mind, because we're over here like 10 alarm bells. Like, but yeah, everybody I talked to who wasn't Jewish didn't see another option except for him. So I think that's a detriment to us. Like that there are no better candidates. Like we as Jews need to make sure this doesn't happen. That there are viable candidates in elections, so people don't vote for a jihadist.
Of course, but when they said that there are no other decent candidates, but this one is not decent. The guy is radical, and people always say that let's try something new. We never tried that. Yeah, but other countries tried it. We tried communism, and it didn't end very well for them. And so I don't really. And look at the symbol. New York is the symbol of America. And especially after September 11, I mean,
it's Wall Street,
and not only it's Wall Street is the symbol of the American dream, and the sky is the limit. I mean, all those. You're from here, so
the Statue of Liberty,
part of your narrative. But for people who are coming from the outside, America, it's New York. I mean, it's freedom of basically everything, and economic prosperity, and Wall Street, and now you have a candidate who is basically the contrary of all that, and certainly not sharing, I mean, those values, and people are ready to vote for him. in New York. It's really difficult to understand that.
I want to circle back to Dearborn. So we were talking about the situation there. It falls under the Consul General of the Midwest Privy. So what is the consulate's role in for example, Dearborn? What is the consulate do in Dearborn?
What can
what's
it
happening?
do?
Yeah, what can it do? What are you hearing from
Jewish
residents
businesses
there that are reaching out? Yeah.
Right. Well, we don't. First, it's the consulate has roles, but it's basically the roles that the partners want to give us. We would love to be. When I came here, I said that I'd love to be in touch with. I love the interface field. It's really I really like it, and it's very interesting, and I think it is very important too. And because I grew up in a Catholic country, it's for me it's obvious. And when I was before Chicago, I was in Israel, but before that, I was posted in France at the Embassy of Israel, and we had a wonderful relationship with the Catholic community and also with the Muslim community. And here, I really wanted to be in touch with Muslims to see what we can do, we can cooperate. And that came October 7, basically 2 months after I came here. And I understood that we have zero relationship with the Muslim community. And I don't want to believe that all the Muslims are radical. I know it's not true. I'm sure that there are good people, decent people. And we are perhaps want to say not in my name, but they're afraid to say that, and they're afraid to be vocal or stand for different values or speak out for the Jewish community. I'm sure there are people like that, but we don't see them, we don't hear them, we don't have any relationship with them. So of course I would love to go and meet with the mayor of Dearborn. If he was invited me, I would go. For sure. We have a good relationship with the Jewish community in Detroit and Michigan in general, Jewish Federation, JCRC, etc. And they are concerned. They are concerned for the Jewish population because they see the change in a matter of a few years only. It didn't start, of course, it didn't start after October 7. But after October 7, it was more concrete antisemitism and Israel hatred. But it started before that. There are trends that are, I don't know if they are irreversible, but there are trends that are very clear. And it's concerning for the Jewish community. And they share that with us. And know what we're able to do. Not much, unfortunately. Not much, because and also it's very sensitive because, especially anti-Semitism, it's an internal issue, and people, especially outside the Jewish community, they see us as foreigners. We are representatives of a foreign country. We are foreign mission for a consulate, and they don't really understand why we should interfere with internal issues like anti-Semitism. Some of them understand the connection, of course, between Israel and the Jewish diaspora and the anti-Semitism and the anti-Zionism, but they don't really like us, interfere or intervene or being involved in the fight against anti-Semitism, which they believe it's an internal issue. And same with campuses. After October 7, we was trying, to meet with the presidents of universities, and sometimes I had the feeling that they don't really understand why we are here, and I myself sometimes didn't really understand why I'm there and what should be my role as a foreign representative of a foreign country. Talking to president of a university and telling in Hebrew we say no, like what are you doing? Do something against about that. And it's very sensitive because can we really ask for that as a foreign country? It's difficult. Of course, they understand that we have a connection with Jews, but and also for the Jewish students, sometimes they don't want us to be involved because it's even if it's natural and obvious, but it can be also a burden, for some of them to be recognized as some communities were protected by the Consulate of Israel, which is again a foreign country. It's very sensitive. And we're very limited.
Yeah. So I still want the mission statement, the macro. If you had to sum up in an elevator pitch, what is a consulate and what do we do? Maybe even the nuance between you versus not a consulate, but an embassy, for example. What is it specifically that your role is like as an organization?
Yeah. Well, a consulate is a bit different from embassy. Embassies are mainly working with the central administration. It means that it's more political. In the consulate, you can be more. It was my goal when I came here. Said, well, it's not an embassy; it's a consulate, so it will be more of soft diplomacy. What we call soft diplomacy. Doing academic affairs, culture, more fun things. But unfortunately, after October 7, it's become very difficult, especially in this field of culture, and we didn't feel that we are super welcome. But the main idea is, like for an embassy to improve the image of Israel, cooperation, bridging relationships with between the two countries, or here between Israel and the different states, and bringing people together. It's the main idea. It's been challenging since October 7, especially perhaps here in Chicago. It's not Florida, as you said. Some people are making Aliyah to Florida, but here it's more
maybe externally, but it's as far as the Jewish community internally. I've never seen unity and love and mobilization and resilience. And I grew up here. Like, I would never in a million years think like Chicago with these Jews would, last night, Simona and I went to Skokie to speak in front of the village about an anti-Semitic incident and hate crime. And the room was filled to the with the kids, and the room was filled, and then one person spoke after another, and they were just so, amazing speakers. We got our point across as a community. There was no, it really was like an honest representation of how we felt about the incident. And I think that actually, as someone who's very cynical, the municipality was very receptive to it. And it crystallized for me last night. I'm like, wow, the Jewish people are, very intelligent people. It was really an amazing thing to see. And it's just unfortunate. That's why we all had to be in that room.
Yeah, of course. But it's very important. That's why I just wanted to say that what you're going, it's very important. It's super important because you are the vocal, the vocal community, and I think that the Jews, they need someone, because it's a very new situation for the Jews, to be attacked, to be afraid to have a mezuzah outside the home, or to go with a Magen David. It's something quite new, I think, in America, and it's not something that the Jews have experienced in the last decades. And I believe that perhaps it's not good that I'm comparing with what was going in France with the Jewish community, but they need to hear that someone is there for them, and someone who are really standing, and proudly and being vocal about that, and fighting openly up antisemitism and Israeli hatred. It's very important. I understand that there are lots of organizations who are doing things, important things, and valuable things behind the scene. It's also very important, but I think it's important to be seen. For the Jews to understand that they're not alone, that you are here and you are vocal and you are fighting. And in France, it's amazing what we saw after October 7, even if the Jews are, most of them like me, that they don't really, they are more discreet. But after October 7, the Jewish organizations, they are all over the place. They're on TV, they're on radio, they're on the streets, they are protesting, and they're bringing a lot of people with them. And also they are also, because they have the courage to do that and to be vocal, not only behind the scene, it gives also courage to other communities, Christians, even Muslims. There are a lot of Muslims, journalists, intellectuals who are also speaking out for Israel today in France, which is amazing. And it's because the Jewish community has the courage to speak out publicly, not only behind the scene. And publicly, you are doing that. And I think that it's super important and super valuable. And the Jews, they need that. They need to see that there are organizations and people who are courageous enough to get outside and say, okay, no, that's it. I mean, it's the limit. We need to stop that, and we need to. And I think it's very important, and that's why it's really. I mean, what you're doing, it's really an amazing job, and thank you for that, because it's not easy and it's scary, and there are scary people outside, and people should understand that those people outside, they're scary, they are loud, but they are wrong, and people should understand that they are wrong. And we need to be here so to say that those people are wrong. And you do that.
Thank you, Delphine. It's why I joined CJA. Again, when I saw the first rally happening at DePaul, it was the first one after October 7th, where it wasn't hush-hush behind closed doors. It was very public, very loud. And I was very proud, to see Danny organizing something that was not hiding. And I didn't want my children, my one child, now I have 3, but my one child at the time, to see me scared and hiding. It was so important to be unafraid and public and visible at the time. And it's not always easy. We've had some scary moments. We have to, as you do too, we have to have a lot of security to do it. Yeah, but thank you. I wanted to ask, has
I just wanted to say that our enemies, if I can say, which are not only the enemies of the Jewish people here, but also of this country. But it doesn't matter. I think that they really count on that we will, get under the radars and just, be quiet and wait for the wave to go away. But when they see in front of them people who are determined and don't give up, I think that they by themselves, they give up. They understand they are going to to look for another prey. And that's why it's very important to continue to be courageous and determined. So again, thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah, I think we've done self-defense trainings with a couple groups, and one of them is a lovely group called Stand Strong here in Chicago. And one of the things they teach you in self-defense training is, if you're seeing something happen or somebody's coming at you, and you stand defensively and let them know you are trained and you can defend yourself, a lot of times they will go away. They won't try to attack you. And I think that's a good metaphor for showing up in a visible way still, that we're trained and we're not going to just take it. I think it's very important. I was going to ask you, you got here just a couple of months before, October 7th happened. And, you were in DC. Chicago's different than DC. I think we have a different challenge in Chicago, and we're different than Paris. Has this been your most challenging assignment so far?
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, it's not. I still have time here, and I hope that I will have a better time professionally. But I came here 2 months before October 7, so it's basically all what I know. I know that it was different before, that we had much more opportunities for cooperation with different groups, different people, and it's what we do in general. Reaching out to as much as possible diverse groups and try to have events together, and it's been challenging since October 7. It's not that people don't want to have any contact with us, but there are people who don't want to have contacts with them, unfortunately. But there are people who are just afraid to be too much close to the consulate and even the Jewish community, which I can totally understand. And I do hope that it will be better. Know that there is a ceasefire in Gaza, and people. I mean, I would love to say that the war is over. Unfortunately, it's not over yet. But I want to be optimistic. I want to believe that it may open new windows for normalization with more Arab countries, and more Arab countries may understand that the only right path is the path toward peace, because there is no other option to offer the kids of this region a better future. I know that it may sound a bit naive, but Golda Meir said once that being pessimistic is a luxury that a Jew cannot afford. So I won't be pessimistic. I want to stay optimistic, and I think that if the things will get better in the Middle East, it will get better also here. Even though it's not always connected to Israel, most of the times Israel and the Palestinians and Gaza, it's only a pretext for broader agendas that some people may have here, unfortunately. But I want to believe that people will open their eyes it may sound a bit kitsch, but just look for truth. I know that truth is not the best. It's some people say that we have entered a post-truth society, which is very, very scary. But I do believe that there are good people who still want to stay decent people and look for truth and not fake news and not.
Even with like the idea of truth, like there may not even be like on that side of the spectrum just full on truth for whatever is existing. There's always going to be a subjective experience as humans, but it's like the absolute nature of anti-Semites that I find. Like there's no intellectual space. Like I come from a place where I don't really have the religious, like growing up, I was a Zionist, yes. But even growing up when I was the farthest out on my Jewery, like orbitively, and I was poli-sci, I remember just intellectually understanding why we needed Israel in the West, and I just feel like there's so many different reasons for why someone could be a Zionist. And there's really like just one why they wouldn't be, unless they really did have a dog in the fight. A lot of people on the sidelines really, in my opinion, are more anti-Jew, or they would care about what's going on in Nigeria. I think that is the common denominator. That's even how some of the far left. Yeah. So unfortunately, that's how I think a lot of them are bonding. Simona, were you going to say something, honey?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about how while being a diplomat and a mother, you got your PhD, which like I've been trying to go back to graduate school for years and years and years. And I'm just so impressed in how you accomplished this. Do you want to talk about how you balanced everything a little bit?
Don't be impressed. It was a long time ago. I mean, it was 15 years ago, something like that. I have passion in my life. It's writing, and I also love geopolitics. And the first time that we were posted in France, it was my husband's position, and for 1 year I didn't have a position, so I saw that it may be good to perhaps do something with that, just not, staying at home and not doing anything, or having a job which is not, super interesting. So having something, on the side that you really like and feel. So I started my PhD. I really did not know. It was when we were in France. It was, the only opportunity, because I'm not able to write at this level in English or even Hebrew. So it was a good opportunity. I just started. I don't know if I will finish it, but I really like the writing and the research, and that's it. And yeah.
Well, what is it in? What is the PhD in? What discipline?
It was it's international relations. It was on the U.S. policy in the Middle East under the first mandate of Obama.
Got it. So what can I know we're coming up on an hour. I want to know what does the consulate have coming up that like we can get involved in, maybe even in Chicago, or if we're like a student and want to get involved with working, like where can we go, and how does that manifest? Like, do people, if they have events companies in the Jewish space or Jewish businesses, do they contact you directly? What is the connective tissue that like a Jewish person in the diaspora can connect with people at the consulate?
Yeah. First, we try to organize as much as possible events with diverse partners and diverse communities. We have people coming from Israel. We would love to return to the academic world. Know that the war is over, and because most of the programs, they were suspended during the war. The student exchanges and the different cooperation between the universities, and we would love to really to put emphasis on that, because it's very important. And we are, really especially this year, for the next year, we're trying to put together as much as possible programs, interface also, that has suffered a lot from this from those 2 years. And we are trying to reach out as much as possible. It's not always easy. We had a nice event last 2 weeks ago, an academic fair. We brought a representative of 5 Israeli universities. There was a good attendance, but it's always very difficult to reach out. It's not always easy to have, a lot of attendance to events. But we'd love to be in touch with as much as possible people, and to bring them to events, and to cooperate with other organizations, you obviously, or others, on different programs. We have a Druze delegation coming next week, but it's the same. It's very difficult to have them they would love to go to campuses, they would love to go to schools, public schools, to talk about their identity as Israeli Druze, and to talk about the minorities in the Middle East, the Druze in Syria. There are such, there's such an amazing background, and they would love to share. But we have very, very hard time to find partners and venues for them. So it's challenging. We have a lot of ideas, and would love to do a lot of things, but it's not always easy to find the right partner, or just partners to run with us.
Yeah. Well, I think you guys have been an amazing partner for us, and we just feel like you guys have been our connection back to the homeland too. Like it's like we're confident, because we do believe that our Jewish identity is one of the most important things. We believe that the next generation of Jews is going to be our North Star in determining how we create a better, thriving community for Jews in Chicago. But it gets lonely, like you're saying, even for your organization being more of in the diplomatic space where people need to be more civil, it's lonely. So having you guys as a resource and being able to come to your events and partner with you guys, and you guys, like Simona said, you were the first one to come support one of our events, has just been invaluable. And we really want to thank you guys and your team for all the work that you do.
And also, if you have suggestions, something that we perhaps should do, or new partners that we should reach out, or we are always very happy because sometimes we're a bit disconnected because we're coming from outside and we're not always aware of the the reality on the ground and the different issues that may arise. And we try to be as much as possible updated, but still we are not from here. So if there are anything that you think that this is what friends and partners should do, if you think that we can improve on some different aspects or do things that we're not doing or reach out to people that we don't necessarily think that they may be good partners, don't hesitate. It's really important also.
Hey, that's reciprocal. Send people our way too. We're always trying to learn more, and that's what makes this community so great too. Is I do feel like we cross-pollinate. Like even if we have different, like this organization's behind closed doors, and this organization does this. I think at the end of the day, it's so existential for us that we do come all together, and we do try to all collectively make our community flourish more and more vibrant. So
yeah, and yeah, you're doing different things, but and every organization is doing important things. But it's important to come together. It's really important because I think that we need it, and I think that the Jewish community here deserve it.
Well, thank you so much to come in on our show today and coming together with CJA. We really appreciate it.
Oh, super fun. Thank you very much.
We get you for 2 more years, right? We get to keep you for 2 more years.
You're in Chicago for 2 more years? Nice.
Thank you so much, Delphine. It's been a pleasure talking today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Delphine's story is a reminder that Jewish life is not abstract. It is lived, it is here, and at times it is defended. What comes through this conversation is not just diplomacy, but responsibility. The responsibility to be visible, to speak plainly, and to understand that presence itself carries meaning, especially when silence could be easier. These are not theoretical questions, they are practical ones about identity, about community, and what it means to show up across borders without losing yourself. Thank you for listening. I'm Daniel Schwartz with my host, Simona Bagod, and this is Jew and Stew. Please subscribe, like, and comment, and join us next time. Follow the Chicago Jewish Alliance to stay in the loop and subscribe to this podcast so you can see what's coming next. We're going to have speakers that represent the entire spectrum of the Jewish community, from philosophical thinkers, from soldiers, people on the front lines of advocacy work on universities. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time.